Ladies and gentlemen, we will start off with a panel discussion. But before I introduce the panel members, I would like to introduce my dear friend and co-host during this discussion, is Peter Korsten. Peter is Vice President, Partner at IBM, Global Leader of Thought Leadership and Eminence, Global Leader of the IBM Institute for Business Value, the business think, I'll continue, the business think tank of IBM, the IBM benchmarking activities, and is in charge of IBM's Global Eminence and Speakers Program.
Thank you.
He has written many leading pieces of IBM thought leadership and was in charge of the largest face-to-face field research project with participation of over 1,700 CEOs and 3,000 CIOs, among others. And he was voted one of the world's 25 top consultants in 2011, and he's standing right next to me. Peter Korsten.
Thank you very much, Bart.
And now for the panel. Jan Holme was Philips CFO until 2005, and after what we all saw as his deserved pension, he couldn't really quit. So he accepted the role of CEO in the ailing ING Group, which was in deep trouble at the beginning of the crisis in 2008. Now that the dust around the bank insurer has settled, it was time for Holmen to move on. Not to his garden, no, of course not, to be the interim chairman at KPMG, which undoubtedly forms another challenge that will keep Jan Holme away from his garden. Mr. Holme, welcome.
Okay.
Please take your seat. On to the next CEO. Eelco Blok has spent most of his productive life at Dutch telco company KPN. He began his career in 1983 at KPN in a financial role, but after having held numerous executive positions in the company, he followed in the footsteps of Ad Scheepbouwer as CEO of KPN in 2011, and since then he's been on a roller coaster ride. Eelco Blok, please take your seat. Prior to joining AkzoNobel as its CEO, Ton Büchner, Dutchman by birth, was the CEO of the Sulzer Corporation, one of Switzerland's leading publicly quoted global industrial corporations, which employs over 16,000 people. But now he stepped up at AkzoNobel. He holds his breath over 50,000 employees. Mr. Büchner, please take your seat. And last but certainly not least, Ines de Greef is a pharmaceutical professional with extensive experience with the pharma and biotech industry and has in-depth knowledge of the different elements of drug development and the interfaces between them. In 2013, she was appointed CEO for Treeway. Her company is dedicated in finding medication against the illness known as ALS. You know that disease. They will start offering a medication, they say, in 2016. And they are also the people that brought you the Ice Bucket Challenge. Ines de Greef, welcome. Please. On to Peter for the introduction of the first subject. Peter.
Thank you very much, Bart. As you know, we have done the research amongst 4,000 plus CEO, CIO, CFO, CMOs, and Chief Human Resource Officers. And if I can get the first slide, please. So let me actually then tell the story while the technicians are busily working getting some PowerPoints up. We've done surveys every other year amongst CEOs in particular. And what we have discovered is in 2004, when we first asked CEOs to rank order what are the most important things that drive the future of your company, what are external factors that affect the future of your company, we found that technology came in as number 6. Other factors that were more important than technology were things like market factors, competition, regulation, access to human resources, and things like that. What we have seen over time, year after year, the factor technology moved up and up and up. And as of 2012, in the minds of chief executive officers, technology has become the number, there we are, technology has become the #1 factor. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see the slides over here. So technology has really come to the top of mind of CEOs, above anything else for 2 years in a row now. And we all know that if you don't master technology, you run into problems, whether you're in retail, whether you're in photography, whether you're in telecoms, or whether you're in something else. And not all these companies are completely gone, but they certainly have a hard time surviving. Reversely so, if you look at the world's most valuable 5 brands, 4 of them come out of technology. That is real change in the world. So I told you we also have asked the same question to the other roles. And to our surprise, none of the other roles, not the CFO, not the Chief Human Resource Officer, Information Officer, Marketing Officer, or Supply Chain Officer, recognizes that importance of technology. So what questions does that raise, boss?
Well, the first, and then we go to the panel, obviously. Mr. Buchner, dare you to state I'm the digital leader in the company? Because based on the survey, you are that.
True. I don't see myself as individually as the digital guru in the organization. When I speak to my CIO, he tells me that I'm probably in the upper middle bracket. But it is, if I look at that chart, for me, it's not so much technology itself, but what technology does to all of the other factors that you see. People interaction, employee interaction, customer interaction, otherwise. So as much as technology is one, it is not the technology itself, but what it does to organizations like AkzoNobel.
Do you agree, Mr. De Blok?
I fully agree. Yeah? Technology is an important factor, but technology is driving change, and that has changed over time. Technology is changing customer demand, technology is changing the way how you do business, technology is changing everything, and therefore it's really, really important when you think about the future.
Okay, but then, and you all agree, Mr. Holmer, to go to you. What's the role of the CIO then in that respect? What's what you don't get from your CIO yet? What does he need to address, and what doesn't he need to address anymore?
Well, I think you need to address the business, number one. The business is really what he is trying to improve. And by doing that, I think if he is doing right, he's creating innovation, new opportunities, new ideas for the organization and serving the customer while doing that. I think that's what he is doing. What he should not be doing is paying too much attention to hardware and I think ERP, because those things have become commodity and somebody else can deal with that quite easily. You can outsource that. So looking for the business, I think, is number one.
You're a very fresh startup. You're going for the goal of creating a medication, Mrs. de Greef. Yes. How do you see that? Do you have a CIO within your company?
Actually not. So
why not?
What you usually have, actually I was really learning about the CIO here, because within pharma, mid-sized pharma, biotech, we call usually the CIO a Chief Innovation Officer. And I'm thinking about information as being static, as Jan also told about just the hardware and the software. But I think the data, knowledge, technology is very important. So it's all about what do you want tomorrow? What do you want in the future? And I think that's actually what we also want within biotech.
Yeah, does he deliver your CIO in that respect, Mr. Blok? He's in this audience, I think so.
Partly, I think, well, looking at KPN, that well, the IT headed by the CIO should be supportive in, well, simplifying the product portfolio, simplifying processes, and use all the capabilities and knowledge to increase the speed of innovation in the company. And they are moving into that direction, but well, I would be able to accelerate things, then that is the part where the room for improvement is. So real innovation.
Okay, not only processes, therefore, Mr. Buchner, you'll agree probably, not only processes, but also the thought leader in innovation. But is that true? Is that manageable? Can you put really all those competencies in one guy at C-level? Or do you still
in an organization like ours, we don't delegate this to a single individual called CIO. It is, every organization says that they want a spider with 8 legs and 5 brains and 6 tails on every job. And in this particular case, that's very much always the desire when you look at the famous job descriptions that Ben was referring to. We look at whether it is the efficiency challenge with technology, whether it's the customer interaction challenge with technology, whether it is the employee communication challenge with technology. We basically put that responsibility in the entire executive team, where the business managers very much are an integral part of driving the strategy for which technology and anybody who's in it is actually a co-driver of it.
Okay. What tips do you have or remarks for the CIO? Look at your job description we heard, but your own tip.
No, my own tip with the present situation, more than in the past, and linking into what Ben Verwaayen said, is very much a situation where the CIO, more than in the past, has to be incredibly well involved in what the core business strategy of an organization is. And if he needs to understand the business strategy, he needs to understand the competitive picture, he needs to understand the disruptions that are possible, so that you can see which are the winners and to what extent can you be a supporter of the organization you work for to be a winner. So being an absolute core understander of the strategy and even co-developer of the strategy is one of the big recommendations that would be. You cannot spend enough of your time on the strategy of the organization you work for, and that organization wants to win, and you need to be an integral part of that.
Mr. De Geef, you're missing out on all that nice things because you don't have a CIO.
Yes.
What can you say to Mr. Buchner?
Well, actually, I mean, for us, it's all about data-driven technology, and it's also within every discipline. And with Treeway is very small. It's virtual. It has been founded by ALS patients, and we are accelerating ALS therapy. But we collaborate with many, many people, also people like you from other companies. So for us, it's about every discipline has its own task, has its own wishes, and that's how to combine it. And I also think it cannot be done within one person. So I agree.
Okay, let's move on to the next thing, because we heard cooperation. And as what Ben Verwaaij also said, you see cooperations between people in Silicon Valley, but you can even go a little bit further. Peter.
Yes. So actually, let's have a look here at a different part of the world. And we are missing a guest. And the guest we're missing is Onno Kokmeijer. Onno is actually cooking at this point in time with one of his fellow 3-star Michelin chefs. Onno himself has a 2-star restaurant, the Ciel Bleu, in the Okura restaurant, in the Okura hotel. He's also the chief of all the restaurants in the Okura, and that amounts to 4 stars in total. Let's listen to what he is doing with innovation. And we need to move here.
My name is Onno Kokmeijer. I'm the executive chef in the Okura Hotel here in Amsterdam, and I'm responsible for the 2-star Michelin restaurant Ciel Bleu. And today we're going to cook with Chef Watson. So what I like to create today, together with Chef Watson, is something with the blue cheese.
So Onno, you have been playing with Watson the last days. How was it?
It was great. Yeah, it was for me really an eye-opener. But I think for the whole world, for the chef's world, but especially also for the food industry, it's great. Inspiring and creating wonderful dishes. And brings the world flavors together. It's a creative tool, and I think we have to keep that in our minds. The chefs will always create by themselves, and also the flavoring, and to surprise the guests. What you see with Chef Watson, he will surprise the chef with all the combinations and what you can do with the ingredients. And great, I love it.
So Chef Watson has read all cooking books in the world that anybody has ever produced, knows what flavors fit together, knows what tastes come together. And then when you are the star chef, go to Chef Watson, you're going to be surprised with recipes and menus that have never existed, yet taste very well. And then it takes talents like Onno to make incredible dishes. So he's very actively using it, and I think he's using that to get to his next star. With that, back to you, Bas.
Thanks, Peter. We want to talk about how data-driven your company is, how data-driven you are as a person. How data-driven is KPN, Elke Blok?
KPN is very data-driven already for a long time. Managing the networks you can't do without using all the data that is available in the networks to be able to offer the right quality of service to our customers. And also in marketing, data is unbelievable important.
Can you give examples? What's the latest thing you've been developing based on this data drive?
Designing the 4G network as an example. We used all the data that was available to design an optimal network to be able to offer the highest quality services to our customers.
Okay. Your neighbor, KPMG, is not that data-driven, I suppose. Can you give examples?
Yeah, the data that we have internally are fairly limited because we mainly write hours, and the business model is quite simple. But we do have a lot of data related to customers. And it's very important that we protect those data very well. Also, I think in the future, we are helping in our advisory practice businesses with new models based on big data, based on data and logic, So we have experts that are helping others to
I
deal
know
with data.
you hired a guy from CERN, from the Parts Accelerator in Geneva. He's one of the partners at KPMG now, isn't it?